Good afternoon, everybody. This is Diggs. It's another beautiful day out here in the Pacific Northwest. That is a lie. It's actually 110 degrees outside literally right now, and it's 87.3 in my air-conditioned office. Today, we are going to be talking about Duane EX. We're going to be talking about stat differences, abilities, whether or not you should pull for him, and synergies to look forward to in the future of GL. We're also going to be talking about Fryevia EX, my initial impression of her, and whether or not I think you should pull for her or EX her. Let's go ahead and dig in. All right, so the first thing that we're going to look at, of course, is going to be Duane EX's stats, and we're going to do things a little bit differently. Usually I just go through WoTV calc and show things off, but I wanted to talk about the actual stat differences and have them on screen here. So if you look at the pre-EX versus the post-EX, we're looking at about 1200 HP. We're getting a little bit of AP. We're getting about 100 attack, 2 more defense. Probably the most important is an additional 4 agility. And he gets a lot of dexterity, almost 40 dexterity, almost 50 luck, and an additional 7 critical hit rate. I would say this is a big chunk of stats for him, and while we see a lot of EX units get a lot of big chunky stats added onto them, I really think this is super significant, considering that you also have to think that Black Rose Helena is currently in the meta. Duane does have the ability to destroy re-raise, and with re-raise Zazan coming out, and other units like Yuna with re-raise, this is going to power him up and make him even more viable than he already was. Let's go ahead and take a look at his abilities here. He gets an upgrade to his passive Knighthood, which will actually give him defense 15, increase slash resistance 10%, and increase pierce resistance 10%. He's going to get an upgrade to his disabling cross-shaped ability, which will break physical barriers as well now. And he's going to get the job level 25 ability Armor Crusher, which will decrease slash resistance 25% for 3 turns to target, and it'll deal 165% of damage. Now, of course, in terms of VCs, we do have his specific VC, which is very powerful, and we do have Chimera coming out here in the near future. So if you don't have a powerful Dark Esper like Omega, and you're like, man, what am I going to put on Duane? Well, you can put Chimera on because Chimera is going to be free to acquire in the near future, and that's going to be an easily accessible Dark Esper as well. Now, in terms of synergy and kind of capability and power, I think it's really interesting because I think Duane EX counters my meta. Oh, the circuit breaker just broke again because I literally turned the fan off for this video and the circuit breaker just tripped again. So we're going to try and get through this video before the circuit breaker trips on my computer. But I do think Duane EX is going to be very anti-Warrior of Light, anti-Yuna, and anti-Camillo. Camillo, because of the pierce resistance, I found that, you know, Camillo is really powerful just because he has pierce damage, also because he has access to strike. So being able to put Duane in here with more defense, more pierce resistance is going to really strengthen your parties, especially since Black Rose Helena is really weak to that. The new Zazan that's coming out as well, I actually think Duane is going to be really good against that Zazan because you're going to have access to a lot of accuracy for Duane. Duane has been around for a long time. We saw a huge buff to his luck. We saw a huge buff to his dexterity, right? So you'd be able to throw on a high accurate sword. You can throw on some other high accuracy piece of gears on him pretty easily. And I have a feeling he will be able to hit Zazan with Magic Infuse, which will dispel the auto revive. Now, there's also things to consider like Black Rose Helena right now, but we actually have 2 more dark units coming in the near future. We have the free UR unit, Lemiga, who is going to be the Dark Element Select quest. We also have Remure, who's going to be coming out here in the near future as well. And Remure is going to be a Dark Element Time Mage. Going to be pretty interesting to see how she synergizes with like Duane and Black Rose Helena, especially with, you know, potentially maybe new EXs or different units in the meta at that point because we're global. I'm really excited to see kind of what direction the game chooses to go. Overall, looking at Duane as a whole, out of all of the units, Fryevia, Duane, Zazan. I actually think Duane EX is probably the most important unit out of the bunch, and I actually think everybody should probably have Duane EX. I think Duane is paramount. Dark Slash is always important. He's going to be powerful in PvE. He's going to be powerful in PvP. There's no way around it. Like, it's going to be brutal. Like, we might have Carbuncle raid next week as well. Duane EX is going to be amazing for that as well. So there's just so many things that Duane is great at, and being able to kind of increase the power level of Black Rose Helena as well just makes him an amazing unit, and I'm going to highly recommend him over some of the other units here. Now, let's talk about Fryevia. And Fryevia is a little different because we don't have access to Fryevia's EX stats because she is a global original. So we're going to kind of speculate a little bit here, and I do want to paint some perspective, right? So we do know that Duane got +4 agility. Even with +4 agility added to Fryevia, Fryevia's agility is only going to be 58. I decided to use Charlotte as a template to compare Fryevia to, because Fryevia is kind of that magical defending slash somewhat offensive unit, and I think Charlotte is a good comparison in terms of magic tanking. So we did take Charlotte. She's coming out in the future, and there's some pretty startling differences, right? Like, even if we added 4 agility, to be on par with Charlotte, you would have to add over 10 agility to Fryevia's stats. Charlotte has base spirit 22 in her kit. Fryevia has no spirit, no defense in her kit. Maybe she will get some with her EX set. You can see, you know, her HP at 3,320. Of course, this is going to be boosted because you are going to have the EX. And even if she got 1,300 like Duane, I mean, she's still going to be sitting a little bit lower than Charlotte. However, you do need to consider that we did get Fryzess out, and so we do have access to, you know, ice units HP up 25%, which is pretty powerful. Although Charlotte always has that option as well, because Charlotte has access to running Igaion in a lightning composition. So there's elements here where, you know, Charlotte has a mastery ability, Fryevia doesn't have a mastery ability. So there are things here when I'm looking at their kits and when I compare Fryevia to other units where it seems to be Fryevia is lacking. Now, I know there are a lot of Fryevia fanboys out there. I know Fryevia has had her time in the past, and I'm not fully convinced that she's going to be having her time again here in the near future. Let's take a look at what we do know, though, and let's talk about her kit, kind of what was revealed. And the first thing I want to talk about was that idea of HP, because we did have an idea of what her HP might be, and in comparison to Duane, it is lacking quite a bit. 5,100 HP in the video that was shown. Duane, of course, has 6,400. Now, they're both at level 120. We don't get to see their gear. We don't know kind of what else is going on, what VCs are with them. But this is just one thing to consider, right? There's also Wind Spirit's Ward, which is great that it adds slash resistance, right? And the buff to her ability, it's going to add magic attack resistance, which she's already very good at, right? It's also going to add slash resistance. Now, slash resistance, this would have to be quite a substantial amount of slash resistance to kind of pull off a slash resistant tanky Fryevia, if that makes sense. And the fact that she starts off with a native -5% slash resistance already puts her behind. And most of the time when we see these resistances on these abilities, they aren't, you know, 20%, they aren't 30%. They're more like, yeah, have 10% slash resistance. So even if this was 15%, this would only give her 10% slashing resistance. Little hesitant here. She can equip armor and helmets, which means she can have some access to like golden armor or other armors that would increase her slash resistance. But again, any of those armors are going to lower her agility even more. So, I mean, do you just put, you know, something else on her? It's a little confusing. She's a little bit of a confused unit is how I would classify her. There's also the problem, I know Oran J talked about it, I know I've talked about it, where they said Spell Veil Blade was an adjustment to Taunting Spell. Now, I did reach out to Justin about this, I've talked with Oran J about it, and I believe that Spell Veil Blade is actually her job level 25 ability. Justin is going to get back to me on it because he doesn't have access to that information, he just reads the script basically, but he's going to get back to me. I think this is actually her job level 25 ability. If it's not, if Spell Veil Blade is an upgrade of Taunting Spell, this is going to cause a big problem for Fryevia, because that means you are going to have to force her to sub Spell Blade, which is not terrible in itself, but it's going to take away that White Mage casting capability. Now, some other things to think about here. Assuming we are going to be able to run her sub White Mage, assuming Spell Veil Blade is her job level 25 ability, you're going to need plus magic for heals, right? If you want her to heal, she's going to have access to plus magic. Damage wise, she's a little weapon confused as well, whether, you know, you're going to be running Ice Brand for her best weapon or Lohengrin, right? Again, it's that idea of like magic versus ice attack. How are you going to build her? What is she going to be best for? Frazes is kind of the only reasonable Esper, but you're going to run into a problem with, you know, you could run Shiva, but is Shiva going to help her tank? Like, you have to find a weird Esper balance, right? Because if you are running Valentine Salier, for example, with her, which I imagine most people would want to do, if you are running Fryevia, you're going to run into a situation where you're kind of fighting over the optimal Espers, because we don't have Shiva 3-star yet, we don't have Fenrir 3-star yet. So there's lots to think about in terms of, you know, is she going to be optimal now? Is she going to be optimal later down the road when Shiva 3-star comes out? Is she going to be optimal when her specialized VC comes out, right? If her VC is coming out next week from the art contest, maybe she's going to get another VC that's going to buff her and make her a little bit stronger. All of these things are things to think about, and it would be very easy for Gumi to mess this up or to mess Fryevia up. And they have messed Fryevia up in the past quite significantly. For any of you who do have Fryevia, you probably know exactly what I'm talking about when we talk about her White Mage AI, right? She was a very troubled unit in terms of actually using her healing, using her full life, and supporting the party, to the point where people who had pulled Fryevia kind of felt like they had wasted their money. And I think most popularly, at least in my community, Bob Thy Dead, when he was around, he's no longer playing now, but he was a huge Fryevia fan, and he was constantly let down by Fryevia's AI or kind of inability to do things. And I'm wondering if these EX changes that they're going to do, if their EX stats that they're adding, are really going to make that much of a difference. And I think that's the big question. I think we're going to have our eyes on kind of what the stats are that she's getting. It'll be really important to find out if Spell Veil Blade is her job level 25 ability and not a modification of Taunting Spell. That's probably arguably the most important thing to find out. Other things that are important are to know, you know, the plus defense, the plus spirit. They said that it could stack up to 3 times. How much defense, how much spirit is that, right? Things like these are important to know, and we just don't know right now. Other things to consider as well. Summertime Ketone is going to be coming out soon. She's going to be getting her EX form, and who knows what that's going to spell for Fryevia. We also have Christmas Mashery, who's going to be getting her EX soon as well. And we have the dominance of King Mont right now. And, you know, yes, she has 10% Berserk resistance. There's no Esper you could put on her unless you feel like you're going to put Two-Headed Dragon 3-star on her, or maybe you're going to put Carbuncle on her. I'm pretty sure Carbuncle's the other one with the Berserk resistance, but like that might work, but I don't know. It's just, it feels like she's still as incomplete with her EX form right now as she was back in the beginning. And this is just looking at everything we've seen from the trailer, what we know about her abilities, and kind of how she's performed in the past. I'm really in a wait and see mode for Fryevia EX. I am gonna have to see her in action before I can say, you know, you should chase her, you should build her, because historically it hasn't been that good. And, you know, all of the ice units that are coming out, you know, they're going to be ice and they're going to be slash. We have Laswell coming out with his new VC, Laswell EX. We have Velric, we have Barrett coming out. But is Fryevia EX going to synergize with any of these? That's kind of the question I'm asking. I really like the underwhelmingness of Valentine Salier as well right now. Keep in mind, we are on an ice attack up map, right? That is what's going on right now. Valentine Salier just feels lackluster. So I think Fryevia might end up in the same place, and I would urge caution on Fryevia right now. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Just to reiterate real quick, hold Duane, wait and see for Fryevia. We will be doing a video on the new Zazan. I went through and I tailored and connected his ninja abilities to, or his abilities to ninja abilities. So make sure you guys look forward to that tomorrow. And hopefully we cool off here. I'm already sweaty because, you know, the fans are off and I can't wait to turn them on. So peace out, everybody, and have a great rest of your day.